Hello and welcome to a Fire Emblem Engage tier list. Today we're going to be putting every single map in the game in a tier list. I know it's kind of hard to tell, but these are actually pictures of the game's maps, most of which I just took the screenshots that IGN had. But for whatever reason, they didn't have 2 and 13, so I had to like scavenge my own videos to get some for chapter 2 and 13. But yeah, anyway, this is just gonna be a tier list, basically ranking all the maps on their like design, relative difficulty to um, point in the game, how much I like them, opinion, a lot of opinion based stuff. But with that being said, let's get right into it. So, oh, this doesn't include the prologue, so we'll be starting with chapter 1. uh So how should I rank Chapter 1? It's basically a Marth tutorial map, even though, the prologue is also a Marth tutorial map. But, for this being my first Fire Emblem game, this tutorial does a pretty decent job at teaching me, like, it cuts to the point. It's like, okay, Vander's strong, Alir is not as strong, because Vander's like the Jagan or whatever, and it teaches about the bushes. So like, I'm like, okay, this is where I should move, that kind of stuff. So like, it's good, but then again, it's a tutorial map, so I'm gonna put it as C tier. Again, I like the map. It's just there's not much going for it because it's really just a tutorial, so not much to be doing there. Chapter 2. This is the Queen Lumera map where you fight Queen Lumera. You get Fram and Clan this time. I do like this map. This one's actually um, fun to like optimize on like maddening. I think personally, it is a two-phase map, which I think is the only one like it in the game, where you have to defeat Lumera and then like the whole map position changes. I don't think that ever happens again, unless you count like 21 and 22, but those are two different chapters, so um, I get that doesn't count. I don't know what I'm talking about. Um, anyway, I like this one more than chapter 1 because it's kind of like, you know, lets you get the ropes, no real consequence, but it's also not heavy into the tutorial stuff. It's letting you kind of get the feel for stuff without having to be like, because I feel like chapter 1, it's like, it's kind of obvious where you should go, like how you should set up a leer, like, okay, go into this bush, fight these enemies, and then the top half of the map is also like similar, like you can like tell you're encouraged to go into the bush. It's like right where your movement range is. But this one gives you a little more freedom, but again, it's an early game map, tutorial map, so I'm going to give this one a B tier. Pretty solid. I like that map, but again, it just kind of falls flat with the tutorial stuff because there's just not much going for it. Chapter 3. This is an interesting one because sometimes I like this map and sometimes I really don't like this map. This map is really frustrating for me. I don't know how to explain why. On maddening in particular, it just feels like maybe the word I'm looking for is like clunky, because you just got the two separate like waves kind of. I don't. I'm trying to articulate myself correctly here. It's alright. It's not my favorite though. I would say this is like high D tier. Like if I put other maps in D tier, this will probably be the highest one. It's just the early game map I like the least, I would say. And the other problem is if you're playing this on maddening and you lose clan, like you're in a rough spot with the boss. So you just don't really have the options to deal with the boss this early in the game because maddening the rapier, there's no effective damage. So you can still do damage with like Vander and chain attacks, but you're gonna make it a lot harder on yourself. Anyway, that's not the point. This map frustrates me. I just remembered why it's frustrating. You don't have the time crystal, and this is the first time where like you kind of want the time crystal, but you don't have it. So that's very frustrating. So yeah, that's why I was in D tier. It's in the back of my mind. I just couldn't remember the reasoning behind it. Okay. Anyway, chapter 4. Um, this one's pretty solid. I don't. I'm not a fan of the split in routes. So like, there's the top route where you go up, and then there's the route to the right where you have to go all the way around because the bridge is broken. I don't like that there's enemies encouraging you to go that way. It splits up your party in a way that just makes it hard for the group going on the right to catch up to the rest of your units. But other than that, it's pretty solid. Like, you get 3 nice units, Saline, Louis, and Chloe. You know, it's a mini tutorial with like mages and armored units being like, armored units being weak to mages and like flyers being weak to bows. They've got that little dynamic going on. So other than the split path at the beginning thing, I think this one would be S, but I'm going to put this one in A tier. It's a solid map. And you get to use Sigurd for the first time. You got that freedom. The game doesn't really like tell you who you should use Sigurd on, except for the tutorial screen where it's like, put it on Alfred, which I did the first time. Because I'm just a follower. I'm a sheep. Okay, chapter 5. I know it's going to seem like I've been distributing all the maps evenly, but this one is easily S tier. This one is the hardest early game map for sure. It's just, and that's probably why I like it so much. And the boss is really difficult on maddening too. So the beginning is difficult. Like I think the reason this one is so good is the difficulty persists in every portion of the map. So it's hard in the beginning, right in front of the main door. I don't know why I'm doing this with my mouse, as if like I can see the map on screen, which I can't. Besides that, after you get pushed through the door, there's some enemies, the reinforcements that are troublesome, which provides a good challenge, I would say. And then the boss, of course, is difficult. And if you decide to go to the left for the treasure, you're on that time pressure because the thief and that narrow corridor can... I'd say that's the easiest part of the map is the left side. But you have to catch the thief, so doing so in a timely manner can be a little difficult. But anyway, it's a solid map. I like Chapter 5. It's hard, but in a good way, unlike Chapter 3, because in Chapter 5 you have the time crystal. Yeah, solid stuff. Chapter 6. So, Fog of War. I'm very conflicted. Fog of War is just tough because, like, I understand some game mechanics are just frustrating by nature. And Fog of War is one of them. So, Fog of War, or Darkness, whatever you want to call it, it's just, like, especially on maddening in this game, it's easy to die if you take one miscalculation and you can't even see enemies that could possibly one-shot you, which is a problem I have with this map and all Fog of War maps. Mostly, I'd say actually that chapter 20 is the most guilty of this because enemies are stronger, and like if you put a susceptible unit in a spot with darkness, then that's more of an issue. Anyway, that's not the point. The point is that chapter 6, it's fine, I guess. I don't know. I can't really put it any higher than C tier. It's worse than the chapter 1, in my opinion. I actually do like the whole Alir Yunaka side route, though. That, I think, isn't really affected too much by the darkness. So I'm actually going to put this above Chapter 1 because this is probably the best darkness map. So I'm spoiler alert for the ranking on the other two, but you know, just because it's the easiest, that goes in its favor, I would say. All right, Chapter 7. So this is the bridge map where you fight Hortensia for the first time, and she's got the dark emblem. So this map is fine. You get Lapis, Citrine, and Alchrist. That is their order of importance. Sorry, Cyril. Uh, most of it is okay, but the ending with Hortensia is just really tough. I'm looking at most of these with a maddening perspective. The issue with this one is that Hortensia's group is really hard to route fully, which is something I tend to want to do for EXP. It's just really tough, and Goldberry and Rosado especially can like easily one round your units on enemy phase. Hortensia depends on what unit she's attacking, but usually Rosado and Goldberry can like one round most of your units. If not, they can team up, and then there's the two Pegasus flyers that can contribute to that as well. Besides that, the map is just okay. It's better than the Fog of War map. I prefer Queen Lumera over it, but I'm gonna put it in B tier. It's all right. Now, Chapter 8. Chapter 8 is a site of a bad memory for me when Anna missed an attack on Ivy, and then Ivy suicided into Citrine, ending the chapter, but Anna was dead. So I had to replay the whole chapter. Anyway, that's not the point. The chapter is a defense map, which is fine in theory, I think. The thing about defense maps is that it makes the AI do some very strange things. Particularly the Pegasus Knights will like go towards the objective, like the goal objective, instead of killing your units, which I prefer if they kill their units. I mean, it's something I can definitely take advantage of, but it would be better if they prioritized killing, and if no options were available, then they went to the castle gates. There's also the fact that Kagetsu and Zelkov are stupidly strong on this map. In fact, they're strong on every map you face them, so this one and 9. Ivy is kind of strong too, which is a shame because when you unlock her, she's a total pushover. I know I'm going to offend some people with that one. This one's fine. I don't have any... You know, there's some maps later on that I just really like. Most of the early game maps are just like, they're okay. You know, so I'm going to say this one is B tier also. Just top of B tier. And yeah, Chapter 9. This one is interesting because I feel like there's so much bush, like there's so many bushes in the middle, like right in front of your army, that kind of slow you down, which is frustrating because the game is like kind of encouraging you to stop Zelkov and Kagetsu from getting to the forts, but it will happen anyway. Like you can't really stop it without using Sigurd or like repeated obstruct stabs, and even if you do that, you're kind of putting your if you're using a Sigurd user, you're putting yourself in harm's way to do that. And then there's the boss. Ivy is just kind of... I think she's easier on this map because she doesn't have Leaf. This one's kind of hard to rank. I'm not sure how I decide this one. There's no reinforcements, which is a thing I appreciate about maps. Not that reinforcements are bad. Like, reinforcements can be good in some scenarios. There's some maps that we'll get to later that have very annoying and bad reinforcements that are totally unacceptable. But this map doesn't have any, which I think goes in its favor. So I'm going to say this one is bottom of A. I like this one more than the previous chapter, just because the AI is smarter, I'd say. And not as good as Chapter 4 and Chapter 5, of course. So the cream of the crop. I made a little pyramid. It was not intentional. Alright. Chapter 10. This is a tough one. I really like this one in the story context, but I'm trying to keep this strictly to gameplay. But this one is good in gameplay as well. There's just like a few minor issues I have with it. Mainly that Hortensia's group. So Hortensia has a whole group that activates at some point when you get into her free staff range. So that's the frustrating thing. Her even the whole group, if you get in the range of an enemy in her group, they won't move unless you're in the range of her freeze staff. And she has Byleth and Divine Pulse, so she's almost always going to hit. In fact, I've never seen her miss one of these. But honestly, you can construct that as being good design too, because it's just like an unavoidable obstacle you have to plan around, which I kind of like in a way. It's also frustrating. It's a love-hate relationship. And then there's Hyacinth and Corrupted Morion. They're both really strong on maddening, especially Hyacinth. He's hard to one round, and I almost always forget about the doubles that he calls, which causes an issue because I do the math. I'm like, oh, he's not going to kill me, and I forget about the chain attacks. But this is a good map, actually. Like, you've got 6 emblems. This is, the best 6 emblem map. Like, Chapter 9, I think, is too easy with 6 emblems. It's still good, it's just a little too easy. But I think this one is S. Not as good as Chapter 5. This one's pretty good. Yeah, that's all I have to say about that. Chapter 11, though, is a different story. This is a love-hate relationship, more so than the last one. So you lose all your rings. That's fine. I don't care about that. Losing the time crystal, though, is just really tough and very frustrating, especially if you're close to getting Ivy, Kagetsu, and Zelkov to come, and then one of your units dies. And that's not to mention either that there's the Micaiah enemy with the freeze staff. So story-wise, this chapter is really good. Gameplay-wise, it's just super frustrating. But it's easy, or it understands that you don't have your emblem ring, so it's not trying to kill you. It makes you feel down but not out. But again, it's just, I think the one that's really hurting this one is not having the time crystal. And just also, it's hard to position your units to get out of range of the freeze staff too. So this one's fine. I'd say this top of C. I'm not sure. This is a tough one because I made the same argument about Chapter 3 not having the time crystal. I think I'll put this one bottom of C, actually. It's better than Chapter 3. I just really hate Chapter 3. But yeah. I guess this one gets some points, too, because you can over-prepare and, fight the 4 hounds, which is really funny. But in most circumstances, you're not going to be doing that. Okay, Chapter 12. The Sentinels. This one is obviously S++ tier because it introduces Fogado and Bunet and Pandreo, but those two are more important. Anywho, this one's frustrating because of the quicksand and the reinforcements. You feel like you're done, but the reinforcements just come, make it take longer. But I'd say this is a category of good reinforcements because usually they don't pounce right on you, like in some other chapters. So this one's okay. I'd say this one is this one's B tier. I'm not sure if I should put where. If I'm not making sentences right now. I'm not sure where I would put this one, to be honest. It doesn't have anything really frustrating. It's not that hard either, besides a couple of promoted enemies. Oh, I forgot to mention that you have to save the villagers too. That's the other factor. that can make this one a little frustrating. I'll put this one above chapter 7. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, chapter 13 is the other one of the other two Fog of War maps. This one has Marin and Panette and Tamara and a few houses to visit. However, this one is more egregious because you're at a point in the game where an advanced class enemy can come out of the shadows and one-shot one of your lower level units, whereas in Chapter 6 that's not as much of an issue, I don't think. Unless you have like 2 or 3 enemies attack the same unit. It's fine, but it's Fog of War, so it's just not... This one's going at the top of D. I just don't see myself enjoying this one too much. The double bosses are also a little bit frustrating. I don't dislike them per se, but they can cause problems. And there's an enemy with an Elwyn near the bosses too, so that just complicates it if you complicates it if you want to get all the items drops. But that one's just not great. Excuse me. Chapter 14. Okay, so this one is a big one. The left side is way harder than the right side initially, I would say, is my only complaint, really, with this map. But I think taking on the 4 bosses is really fun, actually. Like, this is a solid map, I'd say. And you can... and there's 4 treasure chests. They all have good things in them. Actually, no. There's boots and a radiant bow, and then the other 2 I can't even remember, so obviously they're not important. This one is pretty fun. This is a solid map. It's a little difficult, I would say, but in a good way. I'm going to put this at the top of A for right now. Anyway, I like that map. Good map. Okay, so... How do I explain this one? Chapter 15 is bad. It's really bad. There's just so many problems with it. So first of all, it's the dancer tutorial, but not really because it's a Corrin tutorial. So you're kind of forced to choose between learning how to use Corrin and learning how to use a dancer if you're a new player like I was to this game. There's also the miasma, which is incredibly frustrating and makes it more of a Corrin tutorial, and then you undervalue dancing and then you don't use it your entire first run. That's what happened to me. And it's also really, really cramped. So, yeah, I don't like this one at all. Also, there's the fact that Seedall dies like turn 2 on Maddening if you don't rescue him or get to him really quick or use a Goddess Dance. Yeah, so don't like this one at all. There's just a lot of bad design choices, I think, that I just mentioned. Hopefully that makes sense to you guys. Chapter 16. So this one is S because it introduces Goldberry. In all seriousness, this is one of the first chapters, I think, that falls victim to bad reinforcements and a bad mechanic in general, which is the rising and lowering tides. It's not a bad mechanic, it's just a frustrating mechanic. Like, you can deal with it, but, like, you'd rather not kind of thing. Whereas the fog, you can't really deal with it, and you would still rather not. But the particular reinforcements I'm talking about is when you get to the middle of the map with the 2, maybe 3, I think it's 2 forts, but there will be reinforcements that spawn out of almost all the forts except for the leftmost one in the middle of the map, which is just not cool because you're getting ready to take on the second worm. But yeah, that's really frustrating. I'm going to say it's better than the Fog of War map for sure, but I don't think it's much better than else. I think this is either top of C or bottom of B. I think I'll go bottom of B because Goldberry is introduced. So that's a great reason, isn't it? Alright. Chapter 17. This is an easy S. Like, do I even have to explain this one? This is just, call it favoritism because it is. But, like, having to fight all 6 enemy commanders like on a like fiery battlefield is just really fun. Like it's challenging, there's high stakes, and like this is the turnaround point in the story too, which doesn't mean as much, but like you can feel it in the battle too, which is why I mentioned the story stuff because it comes out in the gameplay. I would say, really solid map, very fun map. It can be very difficult. It's a difficulty spike in a good way. And you have six on six. I didn't even mention that. That's the best part is the 6-on-6 emblem warfare got going. But yeah, great map. One of my favorites. Chapter 18. So this is kind of a breather after chapter 17. You get to recruit Linden. It's alright. It's a double ship map, so you're kind of splitting your party up, which is, less than ideal. There's good splitting your party up, and then there's bad splitting your party up. This falls into the bad category because it's hard to get them back together. Like something like the Erica Paralog, where it has two paths, but they both come back and merge. I think that's somewhat better splitting of the party. I don't know. It's especially when there's groups coming down the middle. I'm making a hand motion right now. I don't know why I'm doing that. That can, like the wyverns in the middle boat, for instance, like choke down on both groups. But honestly, whenever I play this map, I always push to the left first and just wait for the troops on the right to push afterwards, so I don't really split up too much. Overall, this one's okay. I think it's better than that. It's better than that. I'm gonna say this is top of B. I like it more than the Ivy map for sure. Yeah. So chapter 19 is a total. Oh, it's just, if it weren't for the miasma, this would be a really good map. The miasma just makes it a total wreck to play through. Like the warp staff at the beginning that kills Sophia turn 1, like I'm fine with that. You like learn from your mistake, and you're like, oh, I'm supposed to learn. Pay attention to staffs, like utility staffs that enemies have. I like that part of it. What I don't like is the miasma. It's tough to deal with, and yeah, there's not much else to say about this one. I'm gonna just say this one's top of like C. Finally, we're at the last Fog of War map. There's two main offenses in this one. The first main offense is that it's Fog of War. The second main offense is the Gris teleporting thing. That is not okay at all. This one's also D tier. If Gris didn't do that stupid thing where he teleports, this one might be like B tier even. Like the Gris like hiding in the shadows on the first turn really brings this one down. Because there's I think there's 6 different locations he could be in, and the fact that it's random each time, it's just not good. Not good stuff. Okay, chapter 21. I want to love this one. The problem is the reinforcements that are constantly coming from the sides. Like, you think you're ready to push on Zephyr and Gris, but then there's just more reinforcements. They spawn like 4 to 8 at a time, something ridiculous, which is super annoying. The Veil fight is fun. Like, fighting Veil, I think, is really interesting. There's an entrap user, so like you push, you go all in, and like I like that once you engage Veil, no pun intended. Once you engage Veil, like a crap ton of reinforcement spawn. Like, did that battery thing just show up on my recording? I don't know. I actually unplugged my computer. Anyway, like they spawn like 40 units once you approach Veil, and like I love that. Like, it's cinematic. Like, you're obviously not supposed to fight them all. It's like, okay, I really need to finish off Veil now. But just the reinforcements in the beginning bring this one down a bit. This one would definitely be a high A tier, low S tier if it weren't for the reinforcements. I'm just gonna put this like B tier for now. Chapter 20, I think we're 22 now. That we're on. This one is another victim of bad reinforcements. They're not as egregious as some other reinforcements, but you also don't have your emblem rings. Makes it a lot harder, and honestly a lot less fun. Like, most of the fun I find in this game comes from having the emblem rings. Like, it creates so much more strategy. And yeah, that really brings this one down. And once you get them back, you can't even engage. And you have to get them back with the correct partner for them to have their bond abilities. So, like, you're basically getting them at bond 1 if you don't pick them up with a specific person, which at this point in the game is a no-no. Like, you can't, like, you need to be bond 20. You have to, you know? So, for that, this one's gonna go, I want to say low B or high C. I think I'll be top of C tier. Chapter 23. This one has a bunch of griffins with freeze stabs and the falling meteors. But other than that, I don't hate this map. You kind of have to take it slow, which some people might not like. But, you know, you're in full swing in the end game here now. It's better than the previous 2 chapters, I would say. So I'd say this one's like A. If it weren't for the freeze stabs, it'd probably be higher A, but actually, now that I think about it, the griffins with the freeze, like, it's something you have to watch out for. And it's annoying, sure, but it's something you have to pay attention to, which I gotta get props for that. Chapter 24. The one where you go into the past. This one. I don't know how to describe this one. The enemies have so much avoid in the fog on this one that they're so hard to hit. They're really bulky. There's a turn limit, a 10 turn limit on maddening. Or maybe it's 15. One of those is on normal. 15 might be normal mode. Yeah, I think 15 is normal mode. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but it's either a 15 turn limit and then 20 on normal, or it's 15 on normal and 10 on maddening. I can't remember. I could easily look it up. I don't want to. Anyway, Alir is really fun to fight on this one, but the ballista and the strong enemies and the avalanches and your party being split up, that's the main issue. Now, you can easily get your party back together, like, in the first, like, 2 turns, I'd say. But, yeah, it's not amazing. It's not terrible. This one's going to be, like, middle B tier, probably. Just smack it right back there below Queen Lumera. And, like, I'm trying to order this tier list, but, like, honestly, it would be impossible for my brain to do that perfectly. So I'm just, you know, if it's in that tier, they're all close enough, you know. Hopefully that makes sense. Chapter 25. Ugh. Call me a noob, but this one is too hard. Without, like, warp skipping shenanigans, and your party is split up, which is an absolute crime. There's the Lumera beams, and, of course, the infinite reinforcements. So this one is rough. Like, this one is D tier. Like, it's climactic, it's all that, it's great, it's fine, but, oh my god, it's just like, what the heck with the reinforcements? Like, you're on such a time crunch, and I feel like that's not fair with all the crap they're throwing at you. And then for the final chapter, this one is fine in theory, bad in practice, I would say. It's the reinforcements again. It's becoming a recurring thing with some of these lower ranking ones. It's either Fog of War, Miasma, or bad reinforcements. But, like, I think if there were less reinforcements, it would be a top tier battle. but for now, I think it's just B tier. Like, I like all of Sombron's attacks. It keeps you on your toes, but just the reinforcements that come with every dark emblem, like they should only come once, but they come multiple times. So it's just very frustrating. Frustrating? What am I even saying? Okay, on to the paralogs now. John paralog. So this one is iffy. You don't even have to talk to Jean to recruit him. It's just I find this one hard to optimize, but it's nothing egregious. It's nothing terrible. I'll put this one like in B tier maybe. I don't love it. I don't really hate it either. Not much to say about this one. The Anna paralog. So this is I think this might be my favorite map maybe, unless I'm forgetting another one. My favorite map where your party is split up, because I think it works well for the like difficulty at this time in the game. My throat hurts really bad. The boss is fast and difficult, which is nice. So you really have to strategize for that. I mean, you get Anna, obviously, so that's a big plus for some people. For some people, they are just Anna haters. But yeah, I like this map a lot. I'd say this is an A tier map. Probably middle A tier. Alright, time for the emblem paralogs. Some of these are going to be really good, and some of these are not going to be so good. So, Lucina paralog. This one is really simple, but I like it a lot for that. There's not many enemies on this map, but there's also, you only get to bring 6 units. And, which makes it really challenging to kill Lucina in one turn, even though she only has 2 revival stones. And you kind of have to kill her in one turn because of the reinforcements that spawn, and she has like effective damage on basically everything in the game. So even if you don't, even if you bring all infantry, she's gonna like one-shot Alir with the falchion, or the parallel falchion, excuse me. So I like waiting to have a goddess dance to do this one, but I like this map a lot. This is a really solid map. I'm gonna say this is definitely S tier. Or maybe, now I'm thinking about I think I'm going to move 14 up to S tier. Yeah. It's teetering on the border of S and A, but SA, that's not good. Anyway, Lynn. Lynn, how I love you as an emblem. However, your paralog is one of the worst in the game. There is a worse one. But let me explain. Having your party of 12 split into groups of 4 with Bow Knight spam and reinforcements that come out of the tents once Lynn starts to move, which is on maddening. I don't think she moves on the lower difficulties. You have to reach her. It's just egregious. It's bad. It's frustrating. Like, there's not much else to say about this one. And, like, you can basically not bring flyers on this map either. There's so many Bow Knights. It's, like, almost a crime. I love Lynn, but, like, this one has to be D tier. It's better than Seedall, but not much else. Alright, the Ike paralog. So, the Ike paralog is tough. It's, like, Ike closes on you. It's hilarious that he destroys, like, the whole castle. That's the best part of the chapter. But there's a lot of generals. There's a lot of Great Knights, and you can't really one round the Great Knights on Manning. They have warding stance or something. Whatever gives them res plus 6, if I'm remembering correctly. Anyway, this one just feels like you're being choked in from all sides. It's not necessarily terrible for that, though. And the Ike boss is good too, so I'd say this is definitely either B tier or maybe A tier. I'm gonna say B tier. This one is I think better than 21. Okay, the Byleth paralog. This one would be fine if it weren't for the egregious AI. The AI is so bad in this paralog. because of the crystals. So like, and Byleth is really hard to kill. Like, I think he's too hard to kill in this one, mainly because A, he has Divine Pulse, he has Dragon Effective, sort of the creator. He also has uh I forget the name of the arts engage weapon, but he has that too. It's tough. It's not great. And there's infinite Griffin reinforcements at the end, which is not egregious. There's only 2 at a time, like every 2 turns or something. And then there's the warping shenanigans. I think this Paralog is just trying to do too much. So I'm gonna say this one's bottom of B. All right, next up is the Corrin Paralog. This one's good. The problem I have with this one is Corrin, because she has pair up, Draconic Hex, and Dreadful Aura. Like, Corrin was not meant to be a boss. Like, 2D restricting. Her moveset is too restricting to be a boss. Besides that, the Paralog is good. I've heard that, like, the enemies with money are, like, references to the nobles. I think that's really cool. I mean, I'm sure every Paralog has references to something. But this one in particular I find really interesting and cool. Like, there's the 2 sides. It's like Hoshido and Nor, I believe. I don't know. I haven't played Fire Emblem Fates. Don't get mad. Anyway, if Corrin wasn't so ridiculously difficult to deal with, this one would be like probably high A, low S. But for now, this one's gonna be like low A. Anyway, like, Corrin's still fun to fight, but like, you just make one more wrong move and your entire army just collapses because you have units that can't move anymore. Unless you bring like Restore Salves, which I'm not really big on Restore most of the time, so I don't buy them, and then I'm not prepared for that part. It's a whole thing. Alright, the Erica Paralog. So this one does unfortunately suffer from the reinforcements thing. With it has 4 reinforcements on each side once you get to the bridges. And I've never been able to catch the thieves on Maddening on this Paralog. They're just too dang fast. Or I'm too dang slow. It's probably both. Erica is an absolute nuke. I don't know if I have already said that, which makes approaching her really difficult. So you basically have to Corrin Hex her from moving, because if she twin strikes one of your units, it's basically a one-shot. Oh, I forgot to mention the reinforcements in the back, too. So you got like 2 turns max to take out Erica. If it weren't for the thieves being so hard to catch and the worms at the beginning kind of being so restricting that made it so I can't catch the thieves, I would like this one a lot more. But I think this one is B tier somewhere. You know, I'm not sure where. I like it more than these 2. Yeah. Alright, this is the Sigurd Paralog. Alright, this one is annoying. Lots of enemies with staves. The Meteor Tomb guy, which has like 2 or 3 revival stones, I can't remember. What I do like is the 2 sages at the bottom left that are like capped out stats. That's really fun to try and fight. What I don't like is that Sigurd just rushes in, although it's probably for the best because the amount of reinforcements that spawn at the top once you lower the bridge is ridiculous. But like, he just charges in and like suicides into you. I wish it was handled a little bit differently to where they didn't spawn a crapload of reinforcements, but like Sigurd came in with some troops. You know, he didn't just suicide into you. That would make it a lot better, I think. But as it stands now, this one's probably B tier. I don't like it as much as Erica's or Corrin's. Corrin's is an A tier. Why do I even compare it to Corrin? But I like it more than Byleth's for sure. So I'll put that one right about there. Leaf Paralog. Alright, Micaiah. No, I should probably explain. Actually, this one's better than Seedall's. The Ballista are just too strong. They're too strong and frustrating to deal with. Beyond that, if you're going slow because of the Ballista, which I almost always do, there's like 8 rounds of Paladin reinforcements. And Paladins are stupid strong in this game, and they come 3 at a time. So like, it's just a long battle. It took me like 40 turns to do this one, I think. Last time, I don't know when last time was. It took me a long time to do this one. It's just, you have to be very patient. The ballista are stupid strong. Like, they pierce even your armored units. Like, you basically have to bonded shield or chain guard or have, like, Louis as general or something like that to deal with the ballista with constant heals. It's just not good. It's not. It's a mess. I don't like it one bit, but Seedall is worse because of the whole tutorial aspect of it, I think. Yeah, these two are very close, though. Don't get me wrong. They're both terrible. Very bad. Micaiah Paralog. This one... So, people like to two-turn this one, or sometimes even one-turn this one. But when you play it as intended, it's actually pretty challenging. Like, if you don't Astrostorm Micaiah, like, this one... Like, I play it on my YouTube playthrough, like, without Astrostorming her. And, like, this one's actually really tough. Like, in a good way, I think, too. There are a lot of reinforcements, though. That's definitely taking points away from it being, like, S tier or A tier. Like, it's just like, when does it let up kind of thing. Although, now I think about it, it is a defense map, so you should kind of expect reinforcements. But I think they come too many at a time. So, as this is, I'm saying this better than Corrin Paralog, just by a little bit. In fact, I'm going to move this one down. I don't know why I put Chapter 9 in A tier. That's not really great. I'll just move this down to B tier. Yeah, it's alright. But back to the Micaiah Paralog. I think it's really solid if you try to play it as intended. I'll put that above the 4 Hounds even. Alright, the Roy Paralog. This one is Wyvern Spam galore. Now, despite all my rants about reinforcements, I actually really do like this one. This one's a long battle in the good way, I think. The Wyverns almost always come from a spot that's far enough away that you have enough time to plan for them, I think. Except for the ones that come out of the house when you engage Roy, but, like, are you really fighting those ones? But yeah, I really like this Paralog. This one is solid. I'd say this one is A tier also, just below Corrin. Actually, no, I'd say this is better than Corrin. Changed my mind. Anyway, fighting Roy is really fun too because he has holdout, and it's not as annoying as it sounds, honestly. It's like he has 6 health bars, except you can bypass it with engaged attacks, which is cool. Yeah, good Paralog. And, you know, his engaged weapons are powerful to fight against, but they're not covering all bases kind of powerful, like Byleth. I know I made that complaint about Lucina and then still put her in S tier. Byleth is just more egregious, though, because it's a bigger Paralog. And he has Goddess Dance. There's a lot going on in the Byleth Paralog. Anyway, for Lucina and Roy, for Lucina, it's good to have all that stuff because it forces you to take her down in one turn with 6 units, which I think is an interesting challenge. Roy doesn't have that, but I think that works in his favor. Anyway, that's a bunch of off-topic stuff. It's like going in random directions. The Celica Paralog. This one is really easy to 2-turn. Unlike the Micaiah Paralog, if you try to play this one as intended, it's super frustrating because of the summoners. So I would recommend just 2-turning this one. This one's not amazing. I don't like this one. She just Warp Ragnaroks, and then you kill her, and then that's basically over. So just lure her with a flyer in the top left starting position, and you're basically good. And you don't even have to kill the summoners. You will be missing out on some gold, but it is what it is. This one's like C tier. I think probably worse than 19, because 19 is actually challenging. Marth. Okay, Marth basically has 2 different rankings, if you ask me. It has the ranking is if you go all the way on the left side and do all that stuff, or if you just book it straight to Marth. Why did I say Mark? If you book it straight to Mark, it's really not that... I said it again. If you book it straight to Mark, it's not really all that interesting, if you ask me. Again, he has the cover on all bases like Lucina. I think that works for him. However, he is one range only, whereas Lucina has the Parthia, so... Which, again, to praise the Lucina Paralog, I'm actually going to move it up even more. To praise the Lucina Paralog even further, you can bait her into using Parthia. That's like part of the strategy, even. Anyway, back to Marth. Man, I keep glazing this paralog so much. Okay, Marth paralog. Going to the left and getting all the treasure is actually what makes it so challenging, I think. And like Marth doesn't move and stuff until until the enemies that will try to shoot you over the wall get all the way to the door. So this one's solid too. I'd say this is bottom of S. Overall good one. Alright, finally, last and certainly not least, because the Leaf Paralog and Chapter 15 exist, the Connector. It's fine. It's hard to say because there's so many enemies, but it's a route map, so they all come at you at once, which can be really difficult. But at this point in the game, you should have the tools to deal with all this stuff. Like, you should have a strategy for this. I like it. I don't hate it. It's alright. I'd say this one is top of B, maybe. But yeah, a lot of these I don't have strong opinions or reasons for, unfortunately, because I'm not that smart. But some of them I just really love, and like their design philosophy like somehow got into my brain. But yeah, that's gonna be it for this video. Um, Let me know what you think about certain maps in this game. I'd love to hear your opinions on design philosophy and all that stuff. Again, this is just my opinion, and this is actually a serious tier list. I should have mentioned this at the beginning. The last two videos I made that had anything related to tier lists were both completely satire. So, yeah. This is my honest opinion. Chapter 17 is by far the best map in the game, just because of the atmosphere is just electric and incredible. And then Leaf and Seedall are very closely tied for the worst. Lynn is not that far off. But yeah. Anyway, I had fun making this tier list. I hope you enjoyed watching it. If you liked the video, be sure to hit that like button. It would mean a whole lot to me. Anyway, hope to be back with some more Fire Emblem Engage content soon. Yeah. Anyway, leave a comment letting me know what you think of this tier list and what you think of the maps in Fire Emblem Engage. And that'll be all. I'll see you all in the next one.